What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with your betting preview for this week's Honda Classic. We'll jump right into this. Let's go right to the tournament predictor tool. So if you are new this week, this is a tool that has been evolving over the course of the last few months, where basically it is trying to determine what the likelihood that each golfer in the field gets to the winning score. Now, we need to kind of guess what the winning score is or use past history. Now, if you go back, so let me pull up the historic strokes gained for this week's Honda Classic, and we'll look back at what the winning scores were in strokes gained, because obviously the winning score here at the Honda Classic is going to be a lot lower than what it was in previous events, right? It's not going to be 20 under par. It's going to be single digits under par, very likely, or 12 under is like the lowest, the best score anybody's gotten to, any winner has gotten to in the last 5 years. So 2019, Keith Mitchell gained 12.8 strokes on the field. In 2018, JT and Luke List actually gained 16 strokes on the field. And then in 2017, Ricky Fowler gained 14 strokes on the field, but he basically won by 4 shots. So with all that said, you could probably argue 13, 14 might be a good number to plug in here, which is lower than anything that we've usually put in. We've been keeping it at around 15. So let's lower it down to 13. And I think what we're going to see happen here, let's go a little further, 13. A lot more guys are going to be viable. And that is actually what I believe to be fairly accurate. What we've seen from the Honda Classic is the studs win it a lot, or someone from like 250 to 1 wins it, which is what Keith Mitchell did last year. Or even if they don't win it, finishing in like the top 5 or 6 last year, like Vijay Singh was there. Don't quote me on this, but I think Wyndham Clark was there. He would have probably been like outside of 100 to 1 or something like that. So the fact that it is a lower winning score does bring a lot more golfers into this. So what we're seeing from this predictor is that as far as the top of the board goes, Brooks Koepka still very much the best value here. Now, keep in mind, it's using strokes gained data, so the events that he hasn't played or necessarily hasn't played all that well in that aren't measured are going to impact his digits here, but it's such a huge value. For him to be getting to the winning score nearly 15% of the time when his implied Vegas odds are 7% of the time is significant. The next one's Gary Woodland with a 0.5%. That is actually great because I like Gary this week. Justin Rose plus 5.6% on the value side. He's getting to the winning score about 9.3% of the time. His implied Vegas odds have him winning about 3.7%. That's significant. So with all the things considered, with how big that value percent is and what Brooks Koepka has been doing, if I was using a combination of both the numbers and a little bit of my own logic, like Justin Rose would be my bet here, because he's the one. I've seen him at 25 to 1. We're using 26 to 1 here, which is what the DraftKings Sportsbook is currently offering on this number. Like that to me is what I would deem to be the best bet. Okay, now there's other things going into play here. Benny On, wow, this is like all of my favorite players right here for this week. Benny On would be the next guy that checks in at a value. Let's sort by the value percent. So pretty significant amount of golfers here that would be deemed a quote-unquote value. There are probably, 20, 22 golfers. Now, the vast majority of them are less than 1% of a value. So the only guys, there's only 4 guys over a 1% value, which are Jason Kokrak, Kevin Streelman, Justin Rose, and Brooks Koepka. So if you're asking me, I would potentially bet all 4 of those guys because they are pretty spread out on the betting board. You've got a 13 to 1, a 26 to 1, Streelman's 85, and Kokrak's 100 to 1. So that could conceivably be your betting slip for this week, which is interesting. Rose has already gotten a bet from me. I've bet Rose and Woodland. Woodland is on here, but he's not as good of a value as some of these other guys. And then you have a lot of these, 400 to 1 golfers. Like Yes, they are technically a value, but they are not not going to win enough to pay this off. And then the worst side of it. So funny to see the names on the worst side of it are actually the guys that I'll probably be fading a lot of this week in both betting and fantasy. Tommy Fleetwood. I have him getting to the winning score about 3.5% of the time. Vegas has him needing to win about 8.3%. That is a very bad value. Louie Oosthuizen, same thing. He's a pretty significant negative, sitting there at 20-1. I like Louie kind of in a DraftKings fantasy aspect this week, but I don't think I'd bet him outright. I mean, those are literally two guys that don't win golf tournaments, right? Like that, it would be very tough to bet them outright in this scenario. Then next you get Daniel Berger, who, okay, so I kind of went on a little bit of a rant. Maybe it was on Pat Mayo's show a little bit earlier about Daniel Berger and why he's even priced like this. And I don't know. I'm not buying it. And my model's not really buying it either. I have him getting to the winning score target. This is a pretty big sample size, 24 starts. I have him getting to the winning score target 0.08% of the time. That is not even a tenth of 1%. Not very good. Not very good for Daniel Berger. Vegas has him needing to win about 2.7% of the time to pay off, so that is about as bad as it gets. Ricky Fowler's much closer, but still a negative on my sheet. So those are the worst values. I'll flip it back to the best so you can see that really quickly here. So again, just to recap, the guys with over 1% of value, so to speak, would be Koepka, Rose, Streelman, and Jason Kokrak. All of them spread out on the board could make up a fairly viable betting slip. Okay, let me pull up some of the head-to-head matchups and see if we can find some value there as well. All right, again, I'm using DraftKings Sportsbook here. I am not in a state that is able to use this, but I am trying to just use a US-based regulated book that a lot of people have access to. So that's where we're getting these lines. Let's look at Ricky versus Louie. Ricky, pretty significant favorite, minus 134 over Louie Oosthuizen at plus 125. Let me see what I can pull up in my head-to-head betting model here. I have a feeling this is going to be a lot closer than that, but what do I know? Fowler. Oh, wow. I have Fowler at minus 135. He is minus one. I'm sorry. I have Ricky Fowler at minus 134, and he is minus 134. Don't you love it when that validates a little bit of what you're trying to do? Okay, so that would be a no bet for me. Let's do Horschel versus Berger. Horschel minus 120, Berger plus 110. I have a feeling Berger is going to stink in this. I just don't understand it. I know he's been good recently, but let's look at Horschel versus Berger. I've got Billy Ho, about 57% to win this in a 4-round matchup over Daniel Berger, which would put his money line about minus 132. He is minus 120. That might be a Billy Ho bet for me. Also, I'm a little bit biased because I just personally like Billy Ho in this matchup compared to Daniel Berger. So if I can get the numbers to kind of back it up, it's kind of a twofold nice one for me. And then let's look at this one, Harry Higgs versus Adam Shank. I've not plugged this one in yet. Actually, I want to look at these two, Furyk versus Palmer and Higgs versus Shank. I have not plugged in the Higgs Shank one yet. I'll hold off on that for a second, but I just really like Higgs. Like personally, Higgs has got to be the guy. Like he has to be the guy there, but let's see. All right, so here is Higgs and Shank. So I've got Higgs 57% to win, minus 132. That's pretty significant. He does have a lot less rounds. He only has 32 measured rounds compared to Adam Shank's 88 measured rounds in the same time frame. So keep that in mind. But Higgs has been literally twice as good as Adam Shank on average in these time frames since January 1st of 2019. So again, another one that I would prefer to bet Higgs. The numbers back it up. I might really hit that one. And then what was the last one? It was Furyk and Palmer. And this is interesting because I think Palmer has been really kind of underrated a bit. Let me see if I can find him here. Okay. Palmer versus Furyk. Wow. Okay. So, this is a shame because, all right, so here's what I've got. I have Ryan Palmer only winning this 37% of the time, which means Jim Furyk should be minus 167. That would be a big bet on Furyk. Now, you can see from these measured rounds here, Ryan Palmer has been very good outside of this one round, his latest round at the Genesis Invitational. That was the round that he, I believe, left 7 shots in the bunker and took a 9 on a par 3. Does that sound right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the round. So that is going to absolutely kill his number here. Let me see if I can back this up a little bit. Let me go to like 2-8 or 2. I'll do 214, which would have been like the day before that round. Let's see if I can remove that round a bit. Yeah, I mean it's closer. It's actually still a advantage for Furyk. I'm shocked by this. I don't know if I'm trying to build a narrative around Ryan Palmer, but you can see, I mean, Palmer, when he loses big, but he gains a lot. So I don't know what that says, but that's just my observation here. So maybe this is going to be a no bet for me. I really would have loved to come in here and hit Ryan Palmer over Jim Furyk, but I can't really even adjust the numbers in my favor here. So I will probably just stay away from this one. But I do think Ryan Palmer is very much underrated, and he's had a couple of really quirky situations. For example, he goes, the 7 shots out of the bunker at the Genesis, that is not going to happen again. The fairway bunker on 18 at the Sony Open where he, tried to hit like a 3-wood out of the bunker and be a hero when he didn't have to be, but he didn't know that because the scoreboard wasn't updated. Like, there's just been a lot of weird situations for Ryan Palmer. He's playing better than I think most people expect or suspect. So, all right, let's jump over to DK Sportsbook here and see if there's any quirky little bets we can wrap up with. All right, let's see what we got here. Tournament groups. I always love a good group. Group A, Fleetwood, Fowler, Koepka, Victor, Louie. Oh boy. Pass. I don't want that one. Rose, Sungjae, Lowry, Berger, Woodland. I like too many guys in there. No. Knox, Connors, Vegas, Keegan, and Joaquin Niemann. Vegas should be much. I like Vegas, but he should be longer than plus 350. There's no way these guys are like Vegas should be like plus 450, quite honestly. But I like in a vacuum. I kind of like him, and probably Keegan the most, but those odds aren't good enough. Horschel, English, Taylor, Clark, Griot. Obviously like Horschel, but he's plus 225. He's by far the shortest odds. These are pretty bad odds on these. Let's try the nationality bets. We hit a couple of these last week. We hit, on Sportsline, which I write a couple of articles a week for Sportsline. One is power rankings and one are best bets. So if you're interested in that, go sign up at Sportsline. I had Terrell Hatton 7.5 to 1 as the top English player, and that cashed this week. Top English player: Fleetwood, Rose, Poulter, Westwood. No, these are pretty bad. Cam Percy plus 225 to be the top Australian over Matt Jones, Cam Davis, and Greg Chalmers. That would probably be the bet for me. Asian, Sungjae, Byun Hun. I do like KH Lee, but again, not at 5.5. These numbers are too short. These numbers are very short. Canada, basically, if anybody beats Corey Connors, you get 4 or 5 or 7 to 1 on your money. Man, these are tough. Okay, here's one. South Africa. Louie, Eric Van Rooyen, Charles Schwartzel, and Dylan Fratelli. Fratelli's been very bad. Schwartzel has been bad, but when he's got like, I don't know, 10 missed cuts in his last 15 events, but like the 5 that he's made the cut are like all top 5s. It's like super incredible. So at plus 350 against Eric Van Rooyen, who this is super short based on what he did last week. And then Louie, who, is plus 120. I mean, he's the favorite to win this, but probably not that big. If he has another really bad tee to green week like he did last week. Last week was his worst tee to green week that I have on record for him. Schwartzel, while I don't really like him, that's not that bad. Top South African. That's not that bad. Hole-in-one props. Yeah, we're not going to do hole-in-one props. So I think that's it. that'll do it. This has been the betting preview for the Honda Classic. If you like what you see, I've gotten some feedback from you guys. I'm going to start building out like a props tool over the course of the next couple weeks, which we'll be able to plug in some different stuff. We'll check it out. I'll kind of roll that out amongst my other betting offerings that are coming. So if you have any feedback, tweet me at RickRunGood or leave a comment below. Talk to you guys soon. See ya.